Hello and welcome to Making Remote Work. My name is Jordan, and today I have the pleasure of being joined by Mariah Peebles. She's the managing director of AI Now, and they're a research institute examining the social implications of artificial intelligence. And then Crystal Kelly, who is an executive assistant. She's been working with Mariah for going on a couple years. So excited to have you both on the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, Mariah, I'd love to start with you and just ask you, okay, so the Institute sounds absolutely fascinating, super cutting edge. Can you give us a little window into what your role as managing director there looks like?
Sure. So we are a research center at the NYU Tandon School of Engineering. We were founded in 2017 to look at the social impacts of artificial intelligence. So AI was often thought of as a thing that was out there. It was something that was going to happen in the distant future and sci-fi novels and everything like that. But it's actually technology or a series of technological systems that are a part of our everyday life already.
Where were you at when it was time to find Boldly? What was the crunch and what did your life look like?
So we started, it was just three of us who started the Institute. And I think, when you're building a new institute, it's easy to focus on the kind of big executive roles that are so important. And obviously you need those, but there's so much behind the scenes work. And you don't need an admin, you really need a partner who can work with you to take the big ideas that you're trying to operationalize and run with it and support you in doing that. And so we were looking to hire fast because we were totally overextended and weren't quite sure as a new organization exactly what their role would look like, and honestly wanted to bring on folks who could help us shape that, who had done this before and could say, hey, I noticed that you're struggling with X, Y, and Z. I can do that. And so we talked to Boldly. We're really excited about working with folks who brought a lot of experience to the role and could really be that kind of partners to us as we were building out something new.
And I know it's been like 2 years, but if you could think back, like how do you prioritize when there's probably like a bunch of little fires? How do you decide like, oh, that one's going to get really big if we don't deal with that? Like we should jump in there. Like, how do you do that?
One of the ones I've been working on for, I think, a long time is with one of the execs I support is protecting her time. So when I first came in, probably 75% of my work time was spent making travel plans and travel arrangements internationally for all kinds of engagements. And obviously with the pandemic, that has, come to a halt. So a lot of it now is making sure that their time is protected, that they can have a work-life balance and time to do the research as well as the operations and not, just kind of burn out.
I also think, Crystal, you're so good at kind of, I think just identifying things that I just wouldn't think of to help with. And it might seem like really small stuff, but it ends up just taking the stuff off my plate and off my radar, So we have a week, or now it's a bi-weekly all-team meeting, and that was something that Crystal was sort of like, hey, I can take notes for that meeting, and I can handle the agenda for that, and people can tell me if they want to add things to the agenda. As somebody who, has always lived under the philosophy is I can do it myself. It's really great to have somebody there to just be like, no, but you don't have to.
Right.
That's been really helpful.
Mariah, as a doer, did you have any anxiety over like giving up some of these things?
There's just so much to do right now that having somebody who can graciously step in. It's also a credit to Crystal. I mean, Crystal, you worked with Meredith first, and part of the reason I was excited to be able to start working with you was just how positive that experience has been, and I could tell that from the first conversation we had when we were exploring bringing you on the team. Just you're very confident, very professional, insightful, and that makes it really easy to build that trust.
We'll start with you, Mariah, and keep you talking. What are some of the most notable moments, would you say, or even like one of the most notable moments in working with Crystal over the last couple of years?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm like, my most notable moments are going to be more on the personal note. Crystal, I remember there was a kind of a big win that we had with the team. We had, I think, just kind of got some funding that we were expecting. Something had come through. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was your idea. You know, we were all on Zoom. We had just started to shift to remote work. It was just, you know, the COVID transition is just a tough time for everyone. And you suggested that we do a kind of group photo. And kind of, you were like, let's take a team shot. And you screenshot everybody kind of doing doing it. And that was just a nice moment. You know, I think that personal touch, just that bringing in that humanity, I think that was great.
That is so good. How about for you? How about for you, Crystal?
So it takes part of the challenge of remote work, and I think I mentioned this in our very first like onboarding call before we ever made the partnership official, but a lot of the challenge is trying to get to know somebody, especially as the EA. The shift to remote work for everyone has, I think, forced a lot of that personal growth amongst each other, even when you're not close by.
What's your best advice for making remote work, especially in the great shift we've all gone through?
It was somewhat comical. Just as I've worked from home for 12 years at this point, so this is kind of what I've always done. So as I've not just at the Institute, but seen friends and, you know, everyone, their work come to a halt and shift to remote work. And within, you know, our team Slack, it's, you know, people were asking for tips. They were asking some of the Bully members, like, you know, y'all do this, like, how do you make this work? Like, what are your, you know, options, like office chairs and keyboard, you know, like, and how do you, you know, so we were just kind of giving them pointers, like, you know, get up from your desk every like 30 minutes and just kind of go outside for a minute, or, you know, walk around. And it is challenging to work from home because it's hard to set those boundaries of work time and home time because you are at home, where your work is. But to make it work, I think even in the very first time I ever talked to Mariah, it was just making communication explicit, over communicating, because like she mentioned, you're not in person to kind of pick up on body language and nonverbal cues. So it's just almost to the point of over communicating and just being very, very clear.
And that takes time too. I think that's the other thing. Some of the stuff with working remotely is honestly just forcing best practices that would probably make your work easier in person as well.
Right.
And so, you know, working with Crystal, working with EAs in general, you know, my experience is it works really well when you actually set up those checkpoints, and you have to be vigilant about protecting that time, because if you really want a partner who's going to be able to support you, they have to have insight into what's on your mind, what's on your plate, what's a priority. And it's really easy when you have, you know, when you're leading an organization and you're super busy to think that that can be deprioritized, but it comes back to get you, and you're just not going to get the most out of the relationship. So I think, Crystal, you've been, you know, good about, hey, we have our weekly check-in on Monday mornings, and just, you know, sometimes we can't make it work, but I think just making sure that you're mindful of the value of that time and being explicit about your communications and where you both are at.
Mariah and Crystal, thank you so much for being on and for sharing all of your hard-earned wisdom over the last 2 years, especially over the last year/decade, what it feels like. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Jordan, and thank you, Crystal, for being an awesome
thank you, Mariah.
partner. Yeah, cool.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.